Hi, everybody. Welcome to this first experiment that I'm doing with what I'm going to call Coach Chats on the Couch or something like that. I was inspired by Rebecca Davis yesterday to share a little bit of live thinking, whatever's top of mind, whatever I've been inspired by that day. Just treat this like a little micro journal that I can do every day. And I'm putting this one together mostly as a test to see if I like the seated format and the couch better than standing or sitting at the computer or something else. The thing that inspired me most recently is coming out of the deconstructing PI planning. And there was a monologue I did during the stream that was really about the goals of PI planning. And I've been reflecting on that, thinking just how important it is to me to drive outward focus on any event, any ceremony, any workshop, to really make sure we're focusing on why we're doing the dang thing in the first place, and that we don't get stuck in the minutia of this is what the agenda says, or here's the next step, or here's the very specific outcomes or outputs that we want. Instead, to step way back and say, why are we, in this case, PI planning, why are we getting all of the teams and all of the stakeholders and all of the people together? And when I really look at it, I have three goals that come to mind in this space. One is around outside expectations. And what do I mean by outside expectations? I mean setting the expectations between the people in the release train, the individual teams, the product managers, all the people in the train, and all the people outside the train that are relying on those deliveries. Now, I'm using pretty abstract language here. I'm not saying between the business and technology or between the teams and their suppliers or anything like that, because where you draw the boundaries of a release train is fairly arbitrary. And you want to define them such that you get the best possible flow. But wherever you put them, there's still an inside and an outside. And I really think it's important that you look outside first and say, we're spending a couple of $1 million on this release train over the next 10 weeks. What are we getting for it? Not imprecise, not these 72 stories or even these 7 features. But if we're going to spend a couple of $1 million, I believe it's important to set expectations on what we're spending it on and have a really clear horizon a couple of months out. Here's what we're likely to get. Because as a business owner, somebody outside the train, I need to do things based on that. Unless I put them in the train, I might need to go develop training for the call center personnel that are going to rely on the new software you're building. I need to go work with my sales team and my sales force to be prepared to sell and help customers understand and learn about the new features you're building if we're selling a product. I might need to go work with governance and international regulatory bodies to set expectations that we're about to do this new thing and keep our local country leads from getting in trouble because of it. So I need to set expectations outside the release train so that others can go do the work they need to do as a result of the software I'm creating. The second thing that I really value is cross-team. And still expectations. But as one team, if I'm going to deliver something outward, I probably, if I'm in a release train, need some other stuff from other teams to do so. And I need to understand early on whether they are capable of providing that to me or not. And that's fundamentally what I'm looking for. Can we satisfy each other's dependencies, and when can I roughly expect it? Now, it's easy to look at the program board and see the red string and start to drop that to being all about stories and detailed planning and all that. But that's not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a clear set of cross-team understandings and relationships. I want to know what teams are providing the things I'm going to rely on and who on those teams I need to go work with. That, more than anything, is the basis for a healthy relationship and real-time dependency management. Not just starting from a list of stories, a list of features, and, oh, when this thing turns color in Jira, then suddenly it's time for me to go do my work. I'm looking for, I know that Alice on this other team is going to be working on this, and I can check in with her, and when she's ready, then I can get the other two teams together that need to work together to move this forward. Because frankly, most of the time, that's what the real dependencies look like. They figure something out, and then we figure something out together, and then we carry it forward. The third thing I really want to understand is the beginning of how. How will I get this done? How will I approach it? Do I have a semblance of an understanding around the design approach I intend to take, such that I can move smoothly through this and keep a sense of flow going? Now, that how often turns around and informs the cross-team dependencies. It often turns around and informs the expectations. It often identifies external dependencies that I'll need help if I want to have any chance of getting them done in this PI. Things like, do I have access to the right suppliers? Am I going to need access to the experts that work for a platform vendor? Do I need additional help from legal 3 weeks from now as I get into this hearing question around some open source technology I'm likely to use? Those are the things that I want to be sure that I'm looking at ahead of time. And again, I want to understand what I'm trying to accomplish outward and share those expectations. I want to navigate the cross-team dependencies inside the release train and make sure that we've set up the right social structure and relationships that we can do that in real time and adapt to change as it occurs. And I want to decompose my approach well enough that I can make the above commitments and identify risks and gaps that come out. And just those are the things that don't tend to get done smoothly as we work team by team in our 2-week iterations and just kind of move through. If we don't have those dependencies, if we're not working at all with other teams on the train, if we don't need to navigate a complex environment, then maybe I don't need to participate in the same way in PI. Maybe I'm not actually part of that release train for that next PI, or I'm administratively part of it, but I don't need that thing. But most likely, if you're making that kind of $10 million a year investment that requires a number of teams to collaborate to accomplish a big goal, you likely have those dependencies. It likely makes sense to work together in an environment where you have captive stakeholders and navigate those hard conversations and those dependency management things. The reason why it's helpful to do all of this during PI planning is exactly what I mentioned. You have those stakeholders in the room. And because they're there, you can force decisions. And that is the value of having it all in one place and everybody together, is things that would take 6 meetings over the next 3 months in many corporate environments can get done in that same company environment in 2 days because everybody's in a conversation. And even if it's a sensitive conversation, even if it's a painful conversation, as a facilitator or a release train engineer, I can pull those leaders out of the room, go have the hard conversation, and either get back with a decision or get back with a clear path to making that decision in the next few hours, not few weeks. The other thing that pulling all this together is that it really drives risk out. And by taking those risks out, you're much more likely to preserve flow and have a more effective delivery over the next 10 weeks. And with that, that's enough. We have 3 primary goals. We want to set outside expectations. We want to navigate and set the foundation to navigate all the cross-team dependencies. And we want to do enough exploration of how we're going to approach this problem to make sure that we've identified the risks, we've asked what we need to of the stakeholders, and that we're all generally comfortable and confident that we can work forward with a sense of flow over the next 10 to 12 weeks. If you've accomplished that, to a certain degree, I don't actually care what happens inside of the PI planning. I don't care how detailed your stories are, how nuanced your acceptance criteria are, whether they're big stories, small stories, or they're perfectly slotted into the right iterations or anything else. What I care about is you've addressed these 3 things so that collectively, everybody in the release train, including its stakeholders, including the leaders and executives responsible for spending the money that the release train consumes, I want all of those people to have that confidence and that belief that we're moving in the right direction and that we're on the same page to a degree that we're moving in that direction together. And if we've accomplished that, for almost every company I've been a part of, we are in a far better position than we've ever been before. Anyway, so this concludes my first couch chat. Rebecca, thank you for the idea. I hope you like it, and we'll see if this one ever gets published. But I'm looking forward to this. I kind of like the format. Thank you.